Actually, no, I want to check out this video here. This video just popped up on my feed. Let me see this. Maron'S war against anti-woke comics. What's this about? Who's he talking about?
I've been seeing like Jezelnik having an issue with people like Tony Hinchcliffe, who he's saying uses profanity or just shock value comedy. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, at this point, it's lazy and sloppy and hackneyed. You know, to be in a fucking club where, you know, I'm walking down the hall at the comedy club, at the Comedy Store, and, you know, in one room, someone's doing their bit about trans people, and then I get down the hall and there's someone on stage going, well, I guess I got to do my bit about trans people. Like, no, you don't. You don't. It's hack now. I mean, you know, you guys got the freedom you wanted. You can now say whatever you want. They're defeated. Their rights have been denied. The policies that you guys encouraged with your stupid material are now policy. And now, like, you know, half the people under the umbrella of anti-woke, we've lost a tremendous amount of democratic-leaning ideas and movements. So whether they knew it or not, that's what they were spearheading. So now it's reality, and you want to still keep kicking them? Go ahead.
I don't know that the comedians have had that much power.
Are you fucking out of your mind?
I think most comedians that were going on that whole, you know, trans joke thing, gay joke thing, whatever, I think it's just because it was just taboo at the time. You know, I don't think it was that deep, you know? I don't think it was that deep. I just think they thought because it was taboo and it was a thing that you weren't meant to say, that they were going to say it. Obviously they killed it and they fucking beat it, you know, until there was nothing else left to beat. You know, a good example being Dave Chappelle. No one's more tired of his fucking trans joke than I am. I'm fucking over it. But he also loves winding people up, so he's not going to stop because he knows it gets under people's skins. But I don't think they thought that deeply about it. I'm not going to lie. I don't think they thought that deeply about it. I could be wrong. I could be extending them the benefit of the doubt that they don't deserve, but I don't think these stand-up comedians are thinking that deep about it. I just think they wanted to piss people off. It was a thing that you weren't allowed to speak about or to say, and they wanted to say it. But I could be wrong.
No, I'm being serious.
Joe Ray. I'm not gonna.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You know, you can't separate. Like, if the movement is like, you know, we're being censored. No, you're not. You're not. There's no constitutional censorship issue with your free speech.
Exactly.
You say things, and in a democratic shit show of an environment, you know, like Twitter or whatever, there's cultural pushback. And I'm not saying that it wasn't. It was pretty bad in terms of, you know, people getting canceled and stuff, and I agree that was an issue, but that's a specific issue. To frame it as some sort of free speech problem was a misdirect. It wasn't. It wasn't a free speech problem. It was that people were getting cultural pushback. That is not a constitutional issue. No one was being put in jail for saying anything. That's a free speech issue.
And to be fair, a lot of those guys were gaining a lot of the traction. They were gaining a lot out of it, you know. The cancellations were actually helping their career. So they were making it seem like they were losing everything, but they weren't, because they had nothing to lose in the first place. Most of these guys were coming up. They were just getting their podcasts established. They were establishing themselves. You know, maybe some of them lost some sponsors here and there, but I think the net benefit was greater than what they lost. Like, look at Shane Gillis, right? He got cancelled, quote unquote, for that Asian joke that he made. But it's been a net positive for his career in the long term. So this whole, oh, I'm cancelled thing, I'm going to cry, they're trying to cancel me, they're trying to stifle my voice, they won't let me have free speech, I'm speaking truth to power, all this sort of nonsense, was their version, stand-up comedians' versions of a grift to essentially act like they were being silenced so that the fans could rally behind them to then boost what they're doing to let them make more money. A good point is, you know, a case, you know, in point being fucking Andrew Schultz and his fucking, you know, whole approach to marketing his stand-up special was all about, oh, I can't say this thing. It's like, bro, you can say whatever you want, man. Like, relax.
My problem is you're going to start talking about anti-woke, and that's going to be your point of view. That's going to be your ideological, you know, grounding for what you do. Okay, that's fine. But why does it have to be the same four fucking things? You know, it's like they talk about the same shit. And I don't know a better definition of hack. I mean, after a certain point, it's like, you know, so what juice does the word retard really have? How much shit do you have to give trans people?
I just wish Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura were around so he could go on their show and say these things, because they're essentially the definition of hacks. I'd love to hear him say these rants that he's been going on other shows and saying, and direct him, or say specifically to Bert, say specifically to guys like Tom Segura. How that would land. That would be fucking great to fucking see.
You know, what is your big problem with gay people? What's your big problem with women? It's like, what is this, the fucking 80s again? And it's so, to me, the problem is that language evolves. Okay? We don't use the word chink anymore. Well, maybe some of them do. You don't use the
Jesus Christ.
word oriental anymore. You know, you don't use the word colored anymore. Is that, you know...
Fucking hell, he's gonna go through them. Is he gonna go through every word you're not meant to say? Jesus Christ. I felt attacked there when he said coloured. I felt attacked.
In a democratic world, people learn to treat other people with respect, communities, and live with it. So this pushback, I don't know how you frame it as anything other than.
But I think it's an outward vocalization of the time. You know, I just went and saw Ricky Gervais at the Hollywood Bowl.
What a bore!
No.
Wow. I would have thought he'd be a fan of Ricky Gervais. I'm not gonna lie. Damn, man, I completely misread Marc Maron. I would have thought he was a fan of Ricky Gervais. I thought they would have had like some sort of similarities. Like he's like the UK version of Ricky. Honestly, I'm really surprised he's not a fan of Ricky Gervais. I would have thought they would be way more, you know, they would be like kindred spirits. What a bore. Jesus Christ, what does he like?
Oh, brilliant.
You loved it.
I loved it.
All right, go ahead.
Fucking brilliant.
All right.
Fucking brilliant. And he talked about kind of like this on stage. I think this new show is called Mortality. And he talked about, you know, what we are.
Look at the grimace on his face.
I think this new show is called
He
Mortality.
even hates a name.
And he talked about.
Look at his
you know,
face. Look at that grimace. Look at that grimace on his face when he hears the name of the special. Look at him pucker up his lips. He's such a hater. He even hates the name of Ricky Gervais's up and coming show or his tour or whatever, right? He even hates the name. He's such a hater. I love it. I love it. He's such a hater. True to the bone, true to the core. Fucking hell. He flinched when he heard it. Oh.
Like this on stage. I think this new show is called Mortality. And he talked about, you know, what we are appalled at or what we think is stupid is all about the time. And this is what I'm talking about, our cultural shift. We're not shifting it, it's shifting. He goes like, listen, right now, everybody talks, the worst thing you can be is a racist. You know, you can't, you know, and it is right now. I mean, if that's probably the number one negative.
I don't think that's true. I think that maybe since he's written that show, the screw is turned. It doesn't seem to be the most negative thing at all. But we have a president who's a racist, and he's very popular.
He's not identified as one, though.
Well, how much digging do you have to do? Get me on a computer. I can do it in 2 clicks.
No, I know, but half the country doesn't agree with you.
So it's not the biggest problem, is it?
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, man. Why is he so mad, man? Relax, bro. Relax. He's so fucking angry. Yo, chill, man. Chill.
It's if you call him that, it's incredibly.
People call him that every day.
I know, and they are hating it.
Who is?
The people that are following that side.
But I'm just saying that the premise is faulty.
Well, let me tell you that, but let me finish the premise. The premise is whatever you believe is a racist move. If he lived, Ricky Gervais lived 100 years ago and bought 100 slaves, he's an aristocrat. He's not a racist. He would be applauded for owning a plantation and being that. And because he doesn't live there.
Well, we're coming close to that again. So I still think the timing is off.
But the point is, right now, if somebody tried to buy 100 slaves and had, African American people
working
give it
a year, it's going to be Mexicans, or it's going to be white people.
The Mexicans are being thrown out.
Can we maybe not speak about African American slaves and maybe speak about your people? Fucking Howie Mandel. What the fuck's that about? Why was that the first fucking example? We need more African American slaves. It's like, brother, let's talk about your people. Well, go on for that.
Out right
That's
now.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, until they create a new cast of people that'll fill those jobs. I mean, it doesn't. I don't want to get into politics.
Go ahead.
No, it's
I
all
don't
right.
mind.
I just
I
think
love your passion.
I understand what you're saying, and
I love your passion. Please continue talking. I need to pay for my mortgage this month. Please continue talking. My daughter needs to go to private school. Please continue talking. I need a new Maserati. Please.
think you can say whatever you want. I don't care. I have no, I've been filthy. I've said all the bad things on stage. I've been doing this a long time under the radar in a lot of ways, and I've tried everything. I've done things that were inappropriate on stage. I've said things that were inappropriate on stage, and my experience with people receiving those things and talking to people, and I've evolved the way I present comedy. I think when you talk about Jeselnik, he's just saying that isn't there a creativity workaround that could be funny without creating this juice that just comes from using words that used to be kind of triggering and are less now because the dominant cultural force is now slightly fascistic and leaning towards alienating those voices. So now that we've crossed that hump into what we are now, aren't you just kicking someone when they're down and just being a hack? Because there is no real progressive pushback anymore.
Very true.
They've won. Right, so that side has won. They've won culture, and they've won the presidency, and now you have a lot of frightened people that believe in what was once democracy in terms of respecting all types of people. That's kind of gone.
Exactly.
So do you continue along that track of like being the victim of some liberal conspiracy when it clearly is over? I don't know. So maybe I stand with Jeselnik.
Yeah, my understanding of what he was saying was less about politics and where we are as a culture and society right now, and more about the art of comedy. And to him, it's not comedy just to say something shocking.
That's right. It's a workaround.
Yeah.
Be more creative.
Yeah.
Don't be a hack.
But you also are giving comedy a lot more power than I think it has in our society.
I think that might have been true a few years ago, but I don't think that's true anymore. Because with what you're doing now, what you're doing here, once old-time show business, look, if you connect all this anti-elitism, anti-Hollywood talk to right-wing ideology and propaganda, what has happened now is that old-time show business is anemic. It's dead.
Yes.
And so, what's happened is, and in a good way, entrepreneurial way, which is, sort of, your bag, is that, you can start your own show business. And you can find your own audience.
Okay.
Right.
And, that all, seemed pretty good. But if a lot of, and these are comics, if the audience that you build has decided they know what real comedy is, they know that woke people suck, they know that, whatever, scientists are liars, they know that, whatever the ideology.
That's such a good summation. That's such a good summation of what Rogan and those guys are about, isn't it? Woke is whack, scientists lie. Use Google. You can be your own scientist. You can be your own doctor. You don't need them. Experts. Who needs experts? Who needs experts when you got Google?
Logical foundation of that audience is if you're a comic at the tip of that iceberg and you're championing that just by being funny and then skirting the responsibility by saying like, yeah, I'm just a comic, my fans are my fans, then I think you're being disingenuous or stupid. I do think that comedy or certain comedians have a great deal of cultural weight now. You don't have
when I was coming up,
I don't know, man. I don't know about that. I don't know about that cultural weight thing. I don't know, man. I don't know about that cultural weight thing. I'm not too sure if that's the responsibility of the comedian or if that's just the fans or the attention that you get put on you that pedestal. But then should you have to then acquiesce to it? Should you have to, be conscious of it and adjust? I don't know. I just don't think it's fair. Like if somebody blows up, right, as a stand-up comedian podcast guy and they become the next big thing, like should they really be responsible for every fucking little thing that may transpire off the back of their show? Because they have certain discussions, because they talk about certain things, have certain guests on. Do they now have to suddenly become like a news network, a broadcaster? Like, come on, man. Like somehow have journalistic standards. 1 minute it was them just talking shit in their fucking garage. Next minute they gotta have like fact checkers and shit. Like, come on, man. Come on. Where's the fun in that? You know? Where's the fun? But then I do sometimes get annoyed with the guys, especially comedians, who do that thing of like, oh, I'm just a comedian, you know, hiding behind that, when they know clearly what they're doing. They know who they're positioning themselves against or with. They know who they're speaking to. They know who their audience is. They know what they're about. And it's like, you know, I'm just a comedian, you know, feigning responsibility that way can be a little bit annoying, but I don't think it should be kind of forced on them to own up to that as well, if that makes any sense. I don't really know, but big up big up Marc Maron anyway. He's a fucking psycho. I love how much he hates. I love that his hate comes from purely the soul, the depths of his soul. I love how much he hates Rogan and shit. And it's a breath of fresh air. I'm not gonna lie. We've had enough of those guys, you know, selling what they're selling. It's quite cool. It's quite good to hear somebody of his stature as well, because, you know, a lot of these guys wouldn't listen to Marc Maron if he wasn't fucking Marc Maron. It's good that we've got somebody of that level here of his success, will, you know, openly calling out Rogan and stuff. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's refreshing, and it at least gives you some hope that all of these guys aren't kind of obsessed with Rogan and licking his taint and kind of accepting everything else is given to them. There are some people out there that are resisting, you know, pushing against it. But the dislike ratio is interesting, and I want to see the dislike ratio. Look at that. 190 dislikes to 381 likes. So I want to read the comments quickly and see what the people are saying. It seems that the fans aren't too happy. What are they saying on the comment section here? Harry thinks people in America owned slaves 100 years ago. Howie says comedy has no power. Why did Trump and Vance make the rounds on comedy podcast then? True. It's funny watching the comics that back the wrong horse get all jealous and indignant now. Mark is spot on. How is this the fucking 80s again? That's the truth. Constantly attacking strawmen is so hackney. 40 plus years of stand-up, and Mark has only bitterness and jealousy to show for it. But then again, can you blame him though? Like, can you blame him? After watching that special, can you blame Marc Maron for being like bitter and jealous? Like, I generally think he kind of walks all over Rogan when it comes to stand-up comedy. And I'm not even the biggest fan of Marc Maron's brand or style of stand-up comedy. I think it can be a little bit boring. It can be a little bit, you know, it can drag on a bit. But there's no denying that he's 10 times a comedian that Joe Rogan is. But Joe Rogan is infinitely more wealthy than Marc Maron will ever be. So can you blame him for being a little bit bitter that Rogan has gone on to achieve things in his career that Marc Maron will probably never ever achieve? I think it's perfectly fine for him to be like that. I'm not gonna lie, man. Another one says here, I've said all the bad things on stage. Mark admits revealing his hypocrisy, and while he doesn't like what he did, instead of apologizing for it and demonstrating a better example for future comics, he complains miserably about other people and what they were doing, demands that they stop or else he'll get off their lawn. Nobody's complaining about this anymore. Mark is off the mark. Nobody even listens to Mark anymore. Remember when Mark went on to attack campaigns against Jon Stewart? The guy just targets anyone more popular than him in desperate attempt to stay relevant. It wasn't just a cultural pushback. Individuals were being kicked off social platforms and political views and comments. That's censorship no matter what political side you're on. This is really all started when unfunny people use cancellation as their excuse for not making it. Talking about the things that get, but that's the thing though, like, how unfunny were those people? How unfunny were those people? The people that use cancel culture as a way to get themselves on, how unfunny were they compared to the people they replaced? I think you're fucking splitting hairs here, man. I think generally the talent, generally the ability level of stand-up comedians across the board is pretty fucking wank. So I understand why some people wanted to kind of, you know, push themselves in DEI ways and shit and get a leg up, because most of the people that were ahead of them were only ahead of them through time, connections, all this malarkey, but they weren't ahead of them because of talent, because of ability, because of performance, stage presence, jokes and shit. Nah, they just got lucky, some of them. So I don't know, man. You gotta get it how you get it. He was on his way to being a part of being the woke machine. Now he's upset they all got burned down. If something is funny, it's funny. Making fun of minorities will always be funny. Jesus Christ. Making fun of minorities will always be funny as delivery was well crafted. It's why guys like Shane Gillis and Theo Von are extremely popular, because they make fun of minorities. What's this guy talking about? The fact that Marc Maron is butthurt about this gives everyone more reason to lean into the offensive jokes that deflates Marc of inflated ego. I don't know what that guy's on about. I think he's trying out his ass there. Bitter old man is mad at other more successful people than him in his career should be a title. Marc's bored with Gervais. I like Marc's comedy, but Gervais is way more clever and funny. Marc really loves the plot here, loses the plot here, blah blah blah. So yeah, the fans aren't happy.